Hello, Algebra students. You ready for some word problems? You can do this. Of the 19 students in Kate's GED prep class, 13 plan to enroll in a college or trade school after getting their high school equivalency diploma. What percent of the class plans to continue their education? Now, more than one way to tackle an example like this. In fact, there's quite a few really good methods for dealing with percents, but considering that we are in the proportions lesson, I'm going to use the proportion method. So a percent is just a ratio, a fraction of some number out of 100. And so you can set up a proportion in order to solve any kind of percent problem, really, as long as you realize that that percent out of 100 is going to be equal to the piece that you're talking about. Like if we're talking about the percent of boys in the class, the number of boys would be the piece out of the total. Again, if we were talking about the boys in the class, then the total would be all the class members. So we are going to set this sucker up this way. And the important thing is to go through the problem and find those three pieces of information. So let's see. First thing we see is of the 19 students in Kate's GED prep class, 13 are going to enroll in a trade school. So out of 19, 13 will enroll. It's the 13 enrolling in trade school that we are supposed to find a percent for. See, it says what percent of the class plans to continue their education. So 13 are continuing their education out of 19 total students. And now the question says, what percent? The percent is the thing we don't know. And so we're going to use a variable. I'll use P for percent. So I remember that the number that we get is a percent out of 100. And now it's not a word problem anymore. And I don't have to keep track of when to multiply or divide. The algebra will tell me. So I am going to cross multiply. 19 times P is 19P. And that's going to be equivalent to the other cross product. 13 times 100 is, of course, 1300. And now, in order to solve, get P alone here, I will divide away this 19 on both sides, of course. Y'all, I'm just going fast because y'all are my advanced students. I know you know this. And 1300 divided by 19 is 68 messy handwriting, Kate. 68.42 yada yada. Ugh, do I have some rounding directions? I don't. Oh my goodness. Let's just round to the nearest tenth, shall we? So the percent is equal to 68.4%. Nice. And that's it. Super simple. Next one. According to a recent informal survey of her classes, 92% of Kate's students are sick of her putting herself into word problems. Oh man, she sounds self-absorbed. If that amounts to 45 students, how many students are in Kate's classes? All right, so we'll set up that same kind of proportion. The piece that we're talking about as a number over the total as a number is going to be equal to the piece that we're talking about as a percent over the total percent of 100. So what do we know? According to a recent informal study of her classes, there we go, 92%. So we know that the percent is a 92, and that's out of 100. 92% of Kate's students are sick of her putting herself into word problems. Okay, so the piece that we're talking about then is the sick of her students. Aw, I struggle, you guys. If that amounts to 45 students, how many students are in Kate's classes? Okay, so the 45 students we have are the ones who are sick of her shenanigans. So that's the piece we're talking about. And then how many students are in Kate's classes? We're talking about all together in her classes. So that's the total. So the total is the thing that we don't know. Wonderful. Let's cross multiply to solve. 92 times t is 92t. And cross products are equivalent, so that'll be equal to 45 times 100 is 4,500. And get that t alone by dividing away the 92. We'll keep our balance by doing it on both sides. And then t is equivalent to something gross. 4,500 divided by 92. 48.913, yada, yada, yada. Now, this one doesn't have any rounding directions, but rounding directions are actually implied. The rounding really matters here because it says how many students are in Kate's classes. Now, I might be a little self-absorbed. I might put myself into too many word problems, but I have never yet chopped a student into bits, okay? So I'd like you to round to the nearest student. So 48.9, we're looking at about 49 students. Perfect. All right, you guys. Nice job. Super proud of you. Happy learning.